is Igor Cutler, and I want you to introduce yourself, to tell you when and where you were born, what city, what country, and a little bit about your family.
My name is Irina Roizin, and my maiden name is Irina Shklover. I was born in Ukraine at the city Lvov, and I came to America in 1976.
And can you tell us about your family, about your parents? What language did you speak at home?
I spoke Russian at home. My mother came from Bucharest, and actually from Kishinev. Then she went to school to Bucharest, and during the war she moved to Russia, Ukraine. And my father is from Ukraine, from a small town, Olevsk.
And did you study in the Soviet Union?
No, I didn't.
You never went to school?
I studied in Soviet Union, but I didn't study English.
No, my question is about just your general studies.
Yes, I went to school in Soviet Union, and I graduated in 76, and I went to a normal, regular school.
And why did you leave the Ukraine at that time?
I was 17, and I know that my parents, since I was about 9 or 8 years old, my parents wanted to leave and immigrate to the United States. And I know that I had an aunt in New York City in America that left Russia in 1958. And this is my mother's sister, who went to Poland. From Poland she immigrated to Israel, and from Israel to America, and my mom always wanted to be with her sister. It was our idea to leave for a long, long time, but we were rejected for a few times, and only in 76 we were allowed to leave.
And did you experience any anti-Semitism back in the Soviet Union?
When I was very young, I think that I didn't realize that it was anti-Semitism. But again, by the age when I went to school already, I realized that the Jewish children were called name Żyd sometimes in school if something wasn't very friendly against other children. And sometimes in our hallways you would read a sign, Jews go to Israel. One day was a very funny story. When I was graduating the 8th grade, my mom was in a parents association in a school, and they were congratulating all the parents with an award who actually helped the school to grow and do some stuff for the children. And the whole school was sitting in auditorium, and they called Ruchel Shklover Isruilovna, and I was shocked. I didn't know who is that, because I always knew my mama is Raisa and not Ruchel. She never told me the full name that she had. After that, everybody was joking and calling me Srula, because my mom's name was Isruilovna. So that time I realized, and I asked my mom, why, did you call yourself like this? But my mom said, that's my full name, Ruchel Shklover Ruchel Isruilovna. So that time I realized that I'm Jewish, and sometimes they can make fun of me because of my mom's name or my last name.
Okay. Now, why did you choose New York?
Because my mom's sister was living in New York, and they wanted to be together, because the whole family was actually killed, or they died from hunger during the war. And my mom found her sister in the orphanage after the war, and she helped her to get married and establish the family. And then when my mom's sister left to America, she wanted to be again with her, because this was the part of her family that she had left after the war.
And can you tell us, can you describe the first day in New York? I mean, physically, you get out of the probably plane or ship. Can you tell us, how did you arrive here, and what was your first impression?
Since we were trying to come to America for many, many years, I always had dreams about America. And one time I had a dream that I came to United States, and all the buildings made out of the dark stone, and I saw those fire escape um, things that they have on the buildings in my dream. And when I came to America, when I looked at the buildings and I realized that the buildings look like I saw it in my dream when I was in Russia, it was shocking because I just never imagined Brooklyn, and especially Brighton Beach in '76, to look like that. We always imagine America as high-rise buildings because everything we saw is just New York, Manhattan. And it was a little bit shocking, and especially the Brighton Beach in '76 was place where mostly senior citizens were living. Not so many young people, not so many places to go to. On the boardwalk, it was like just two blocks that you could have walked that was decent, and otherwise the whole boardwalk was very dark. And it was strange. It was very, very different that what I wanted to see. But well, but it's something that I saw in my dream.
And how did you get your first apartment?
Well, because our aunt was living in Brighton Beach Avenue, so she got us an apartment in Brighton 6, right by the train station. And the apartment was beautiful because compared to the places that you have in Russia and where you live in Russia, most of the apartments are very tight and you don't get like 2-bedroom, you get 1 bedroom and you're lucky to have your own apartment there. Not your own, but live separately from your neighbors. So apartment was very nice, pre-war building, high ceilings, and the furniture was from the street. Some furniture we got from my aunt's friends, and dishes. I mean, we were lucky because we came here to the person who was very close to us and was waiting for us. So we weren't really looking around for the apartment. She got us an apartment already. She got us basic stuff that we needed to start our living with. So it was very good that we had our aunt here to greet us.
And how did you start your life? Did you go to work? Did you go to study?
My father was a lawyer in Russia, so when we came here, he wanted to study English and tried to study English in order to practice law eventually, maybe to take exam or something. My mom was a seamstress in Russia. And she went to work because she's the only one who go to work right away, since my father wanted to study. And so she went to work as a home attendant. And she was very lucky. She got a very nice family who actually taught her a lot about living in United States. And also she learned English that way, much faster than my father when he went to school. So I went to school also because I didn't take the exam in Russia at the last grade, at the 10th grade. So we left right before my exam, and we asked them to postpone our papers in order for me to take the exam so I can take the paper with me that I graduated the school, but they didn't postpone our time to leave Russia. They told us June 7th, that's it. So I left right like 1 week before my graduation and my exam, and that's why I went to Lincoln High School to graduate the 10th grade, the 12th year, in order to have the papers that I graduated high school.
And did you continue your education after high school?
After I graduated high school, I got married at 18. And it just happened that I came to New York on August 10 and August 11. I met my husband, who was from the same city that I came from, and he was already 30 years old, and he didn't want to wait. So I got married right after I graduated from high school, and had 2 children right away. So my studying stopped at that point. But since I was a dancer in Russia and my dreams was to come to America and to have my own school, and this dream was from age 11, I wanted always to have my own dance school and to be a teacher. And I always wanted to go back to school. So when my children grew a little bit older and I had a little more time, I went to Kingsborough High School, Kingsborough College first, to take arts and education, some classes about theater and arts and some English. And then I went to New York University and I took some classes there about dance and history of dance and stage and stuff like that. Then I went to Alvin Ailey School and I studied with Celia Marina, who is the head teacher of the children's department in Alvin Ailey. And then luckily I met one of the teachers here who immigrated also from Russia, who was the student of Vaganova, Galina Rybak. She was the wife of Boris Sichkin, the famous Russian actor. And she just studied with me privately for a few years to teach me how to become the best teacher, not a dancer already. So my study continued for a very long time, about 10 years. I studied and studied and studied until I got to the point where I am now with my dancing school.
And when did you establish your dancing school?
17 years ago.
How was it? Was it difficult? How did you organize it?
Since my dream was always to teach dance, I never wanted to be actually a dancer, and I always wanted to be a teacher. And when I came to the States, everybody was telling me that dance is not for the Jewish girl, that you have to be a mother first, you have to be a wife first, and you know, dancing is something that not a Jewish girl supposed to do. And I had this in the back of my mind all the time that I can't do anything else except this. So my teacher, when I met Galina Emelianovna, she actually told me, you can't be a salesperson and you can't work with computers. You need to teach. That's your personality, that's your love. And she actually pushed me to that road, and I opened up a small school with 5 kids. It's like a private school. And in a year, I had about 50 or 60 children. Now we have 500 students. It's one of the largest schools in New York City, after New York City Ballet, after School of American Ballet, SAB. And it just happened that I love children, I love to teach, and it started as a hobby. Now it's my job.
And who are your students? From what communities of New York, or from what groups?
Since we're in Brighton Beach area, most of the students for many, many years were Russian immigrant children. And as you know, it's a custom in Russia for children to take dance, especially for the girls to take ballet, because it's a discipline. It's the way the girl should carry herself, and every girl should go through ballet in order to learn about the classical music, and it's not just physical, it's intellectual development for a girl. So the parents, as soon as they come to America, they find a school where they can put a child to not just educational school, but after school. So we started with mostly Russian immigrant children, Russian Jewish immigrants. And now we have children from any race, any nationality. And it's so funny because we carry very strong traditions of the Russian and Jewish dance besides classical ballet in our school. So any girl, it doesn't matter what nationality the child is, they learn how to bow in the Russian way, or they do Jewish dancing. Like right now we teach arts and education in all over New York City. And recently we were teaching in Jamaica, Queens, and we did the Jewish hora dance for boys in Jamaica, Queens. And they love the music, and they love the hora because when the boys can dance all together, the Jewish dance, and most of the boys are Indian or African American. And they just love the music. So it's for us to represent our Jewish and Russian culture to other cultures is a very, very big thing and ideas, so the people will know more about the music and the culture of the and tradition of the dance, Russian and Jewish dance, besides classical ballet.
Now, can you tell us maybe about can you tell us some stories about your life in New York? Interesting story, funny story, maybe. Not so maybe tragic, but something like what happened to you in the city.
Well, my life actually, my serious life started in New York, and there were so many stories to say, but I guess the best thing that happened to me is that I own my own dance school, probably. Well, another best thing is for me is that my children grow up in New York City, but they knew that they were Jewish, and we always tried to practice minimum, but at least some of the Jewish holidays, like Yom Kippur or Passover or Hanukkah, and but they never really been involved in it. Like my son a little bit more, my daughter is a little bit less involved in the Jewish life, and now it happened that she works for the Jewish organization that helps children in Ukraine, in Odessa. And she came home like 2 weeks ago, and she said, "Mom, since this day, I would like us to light the candles every Friday, and I want to do Shabbat because I think that's what brings family together." And for me, it was very shocking because she's 23, and she never told me before that she want to practice Judaism or she wants to light up the candles on Friday. And I'm so happy. I think that's what New York is all about, that even the time passed by, she understands now that she's Jewish, and she came home and she said why she likes Shabbat, because it brings family together. She said we can visit our family every week, we can go to one another's for dinners, and that's what's going to keep us together. This is probably the best story that...
And regarding to this story, what is your Jewish identity today in America, and what was this back in the Soviet Union? You already mentioned, but it's interesting your perspective on that.
Oh, in Soviet Union, yes, I did knew that I'm Jewish, but I saw matzah maybe 3 times in my life, when secretly it was passed to me through my parents' friends who brought it from somewhere, because they didn't make matzah in Russia. I know that it was a synagogue in Russia, in the city where I used to live, and I never saw the synagogue. The only thing my mom always was telling me that it used to be a synagogue. Now it's a sports club, and your grandma used to come here, you know, to pray, but now it's a sports club. So I never understood that, why, you know, there is no synagogue, why they had to make a sports club instead of synagogue. So when I came here, the first thing I also did is started to light up the candles on every Friday. But I guess the modern life of our society and the jobs and everything is just not letting you do certain things, because sometimes you do have to work on Saturday, sometimes you do have to work on Friday nights, and I can't stop thinking about my own business during the weekend when I have to relax, which is bad, but I know that this life is just keeping us so busy that we can't practice our religion as much as we want. And sometimes you forget to do things that you forget that you're Jewish because of your lifestyle. But the only time when I speak to my mom, and when she tells me all the time about what happened to our family, and then you again remember.
And who are your friends? Probably you found a lot of friends in the city. What is your circle of friends?
Mostly Russian immigrants, and most of the people that the same culture that I am.
And say, when you read, what language do you use? I mean, what do you prefer to read? In what language?
Actually, both, but I do like Russian classics, and I stick to it. It's easier for me.
Do you keep any professional contacts with your colleagues?
Yes, we actually keep contact with one of the very famous choreographers in Russia, who actually the first one established the Jewish theater. Her name is Alla Rubin, and we wish to bring her here in order to create some of the Jewish dancings for us, because she is very, very famous. She goes all over the world to create choreography for the companies where the Jewish theme is popular.
And do you have any favorite places in New York to go?
I love New York. Everywhere is a favorite place, and any place is favorite. I mean, New York is so wonderful, because every time you go to New York, you find something new, and you think, oh, it's like a different country. You've never been here before, something absolutely new. So every place I go, New York became my home, actually. I love New York, and everywhere I go, I like it.
And a few words maybe about your family and your husband. What was his life here? And because you lived together for many years, and what is his profession, what he's doing?
Actually, well, I lived with my husband for 18 years, and I was divorced. And my husband was a jeweler, and he became a jeweler of very interesting way also as an immigrant here. When they came with the family to the United States, they didn't know what to do. And he was driving a taxi, he was trying to build houses, and then one day it was a school, a Jewish school, where they were teaching jewelers how to become jewelers, and they were paying them money to go to this school, like stipendia. So he went to that school, and because of they were paying him money in order to study. So he went to that school just for receiving some money, because he wasn't working that time, and he became a jeweler. So for many, many years he was in jewelry business. Then he took his brother, another brother, then he took his father, and they had this business, they still have this business on 47th Street for over 29 years.
And about your children, what language do you speak to them?
We speak Russian and English. We mix languages.
At home?
At home, yes.
And one more question which I ask usually. How about your cuisine? What kind of food do you prefer, or is there any reflection of your cuisine in this country?
Yes, chicken soup actually is my best cuisine, and it's a whole thing with chicken soup. You have to really know what chicken to buy, and the first thing I learned how to do was the chicken soup. And my son loves chicken soup, and the big thing, every time when we make gefilte fish, it's always a very, very big thing. I mean, I think until now, my mom was standing next to me every time I was doing gefilte fish. She never trusted me. But now she's already, she thinks that I already can handle it myself. So I love gefilte fish, I love chicken soup, and I like borscht, the Russian, the Ukrainian soup too. But I prefer chicken soup.
And where do you go to for entertainment? To what kind of places?
Well, since my profession is dance, and I love to go to see shows, and we go a lot to the Jewish theater, and because it's a lot of very interesting companies perform there, and every 2 weeks there is a new company. And we go to Lincoln Center, we go to Broadway shows, and we go to small theaters in downtown Manhattan. Now it's a lot of very small theaters where they present new companies. So I love to see shows, and I like to eat. We go to some restaurants, and
Do you have any preferences in terms of cuisine when you go to restaurants?
Not really, because again, like in 77, 78, the best restaurants that were in New York, they were probably Italian and Chinese. But now it's such a big selection of different food and different cuisines, and I like to try everything. There's no preferences.
Okay, maybe a few concluding questions. Do you have any message to share with us?
Being today at the museum, actually, I realize how important to teach our children about our culture and our religion. And the message is, I think we have to continue to be Jewish and to educate our children how to be Jewish and try not to forget that we are Jewish.
And about your plans for your school, you already mentioned about the Jewish component. Do you have any future plans?
It's always easy for us to represent Russia because we grew up there, but it's very hard for us to represent Jewish culture in dance, especially because in dance you don't talk, and we have to choose the music, we have to choose the movements. So in order for us to represent Jewish art, we have to learn a lot. So for the next 2 years, we're going to research and we're going to learn everything about the Jewish arts in order to create our own ballet. And that's our goal for my school and for the teachers that work in my school right now.
And do you have any ideas about this future ballet?
The idea that our choreographer wants to present is the children of Holocaust.
Okay, it's a very important topic. Okay.
Hold on 1 second. That was good, but I had this idea this morning we did with ask each person to say in their kind of native language where they came from, and now I'm in New York, or so you say that in Russian or something.
Okay, it's a good idea. I wasn't sure how much time I have.
You're fine. It's just 30 minutes now, so.
Okay, therefore.
So why don't you
Okay.
do this? And
Yeah, and we would like you to tell us briefly in Russian where you're from, what country, and when did you come to the United States? What is your name?
Меня зовут Ирина Розин, моя фамилия девичья Шкловер. Я приехала из Львова, с Украины. Я родилась в декабре, 24 декабря 1958 года, и сейчас я живу в Нью-Йорке.
Thank you. Okay.
All right,
Thank-
we have to